my power supply just went out. You
Oh
know,
no.
even though I have these like batteries, that kind of protect from power surges and whatnot, it didn't protect it. So I had to get some massive industrial power supply for that beast. That's
Ah,
my
okay.
power
Yeah.
station. Yeah, it's yeah. Well, hello everyone. This is a new session where we get to write acceptance tests for API controllers. Just for everyone here to kind of understand where we're beginning, where we're coming from, and whatnot. We basically, we are building a system that would allow software engineers to understand, what kind of performance they're giving and where they stand, in terms of growth. And hopefully, we will be adding also more capabilities to Git file, like, making it like a university. So, like, what do you get really out of Git file? You get to see your current, performance. You get to see who you are and where you stand, in terms of skill sets and growth. So this is performance, right? And then you get to learn, right? So that there's a learning opportunity. I want to turn it into a learning experience where you kind of see and learn, about new technologies, right? And then lastly, we are hoping that you can see opportunities, right? Opportunities in the open source space, or paid projects or whatever the case may be. So this is like that. This is your trifecta, right? Because you get to learn, you get to practice, you get to see where you stand, and then it goes, back and forth like that. So it's a two-way street between all of these different kind of kind of levels or different realms, and they're all interconnected. Everything is talking to everything, and that's what's beautiful about this is that you get to kind of, learn something first, and then, go work on something, find a purpose, and then see where you stand. So learn is your dependency, working on something is your purpose, and then you get to see your performance. That's how, you see the world. That's how you know where you're actually at. And hopefully this is the best that this community, one of the best projects that this community can do for the open source community, for software engineers everywhere, is that you get to see really, where are you really? Are you actually doing well? Are you not doing well? This is a question that a lot of software engineers have in general. They basically always say, well, am I doing well? Am I not doing well? What do I need to learn? What's next, right? Maybe that's why some of these um, roadmap repositories, have you seen those, Christo? They're really cool. People go and say, okay, here's your .NET roadmap for 2025, right? They're not talking about the .NET development. They're talking about what you need to learn this year, to stay up to speed.
Mm.
I'll show you one of these. They're actually cute. Roadmap 2024. Yeah, there's many of these. Here's one of them. So basically, it's someone that basically goes on the internet and says, I collected all the new patterns and the new technologies and all the new things that you could possibly need. Here's one, right? .NET roadmap. And then you go like this and it says, okay, here's my roadmap for 2024. And if you zoom in a little bit on this, let's see if we can see it. Yeah, it says basically say, oh, learn the basic in C Sharp from 6 to 11, right? What are the classes and the collections? And then general development skills. Oh, you need to learn Git, data structures, and then the repositories and what's a singleton. It's a whole big roadmap. Caching, what's memory cache, Redis cache, application level cache, logging, Serolog, nlog, Microsoft logging, and it keeps going on and on and on like that, right? People find this very intriguing, right? And very nice because they get to see some sense of like, where do I look? Where do I grow? Where do I begin? Our approach is a little bit different, as you could tell, right? We try to, instead of just kind of like taking in as much knowledge, you get to practice this knowledge in real time, and then you get to kind of continue to evolve. So it's more around standardization than the tools. I feel like this was talking more about tools and patterns, and this is more like the theories, the purpose of
Mm.
what we're doing. Hey, Monk. Monk says hi. Christo, Monk, have you ever met?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
we
cool.
talk.
So what are we doing today? We're trying to write acceptance tests just for everyone here to understand what is acceptance test and why do we care about it. When you have a system like this, let's say this is a microservice or an API, and this API has like a controller, an exposure layer of some kind, and this is a service, and this is a broker. The very first kind of tests that we care about are unit tests, right? You want to do unit tests. So that's the first layer, that layer that goes and says, well, I want to mock this guy, but I want to test these two guys now. So this is your unit tests. You want to make sure that everything here is covered. And then on top of unit tests, you get into something called acceptance tests. Watch the positioning of these tests. The acceptance test sits right on the front here, acceptance tests. It sits at the front here and it basically hits and it makes sure that your components are actually talking to each other, right? So an acceptance test is something that goes and says, oh yeah, if you own your own resources, I'm going to run end to end to make sure that your controller is actually talking to your service, is talking to your broker. Acceptance tests are a little bit less focused than unit tests. Think about a unit test as a magnifier. You're looking really like a microscope. Acceptance test is more like, are these components hooked up together proper? So a unit test will never catch a problem like your service is not registered, for instance, right? Because it doesn't care about that. It looks at your service method and it basically says, does it do what it's supposed to do, regardless of the integrations? Acceptance tests will go and say, is your API actually working? Like if someone calls your API, will your API actually be able to reach out to external resources or local resources and actually do something with it? That's what acceptance test is. But there's something even bigger than that. There's something called integration tests. Some people might, kind of use that as an advantage for availability tests, where multiple microservices, watch this. This is a service and this is another service like this, and maybe this one is talking to this guy here. I'll take this one out of the way just for kind of aesthetics. But the availability or integration tests multiple services talking to each other. Think of it as a much bigger, this is integration tests. It basically goes through the whole flow from one microservice to the next, to the next, to the next. And integration tests are a lot lesser than acceptance tests, and acceptance tests are a lot lesser than unit tests because you see they have different purposes and they have different ideas. Integration tests are the kind of tests that will send you an alert. Your phone will ring, your email will get a notification and it'll say, hey, your system is actually non-functional. And they're supposed to run from different regions around the world to test your availability and geo-redundancy if you're building a big enterprise system, and they should run frequently. Some people run them every 6 hours, some people run them every 3 hours, some people run them every hour, right? Just to make sure that the system is running. One most important thing about integration tests is that it has to be very thoroughly thought through, so you don't leave a lot of garbage data, right? If you create data, if you create a student and you're testing pulling the student and updating the student, then you have to delete the student. You have to leave no tracks, no tracks at all, no fingerprints at all, right? Acceptance tests will do something similar, but it doesn't matter. Even if an acceptance test doesn't actually clean after itself, it actually doesn't matter because an acceptance test will run and then in an agent in your pipeline, and then it will disappear, right? And the agent will be cleaned up. So it doesn't really matter. Unit tests, obviously, they never create any data because you abstract and mock your dependencies. You'll never create anything. So no cleanup needed, except maybe some for memory cache or, just cleaning up in memory and whatnot. So it doesn't kind of pollute your system. These are the three layers of testing. And today we are mainly focusing on, Christo and I will basically focusing on writing an acceptance test. So we know we have an endpoint and we want to call this endpoint and we want to get some data from that endpoint. One tiny problem with it. Do you know if we have Christo, do you know if we have create, the create endpoint for sources in
Yeah.
our repo? We do?
Yeah. Uh, Controller wise, we've got all five of them.
Most? All five? Perfect, perfect. That will
Yeah.
help a lot. So the idea here is that we're gonna set up an acceptance test for an ASP.NET Core API. After the setup, we want to basically create a bunch of random records, and then pull these records and verify that they actually do exist. That's all, right? That's a get all for you. Any notes from you, Christo, before we go heads down into the let me increase the percentage here in the view. Anything else from your side?
Yes,
Hmm.
so I think just to add on what you said is for the acceptance test, we mock all our external dependencies. We don't care about the external dependencies. But
That's right. Mhm.
one thing
Only
that,
the resources you own, like a database. If you own a
yeah,
database, that's fine. But if you're calling a queue or another API, yeah, you have to do a wire mock. That's true.
yeah,
Good point. Yep. Yep. So let's see here. Let me find get file and let's get started. Get file core API. That's our guy right here. Let me start the project. And I'll just kind of tell people also, like, from a high level perspective, and as an engineering community, we're very specific about how you commit the code, how you push the code. We'll talk about what kind of naming convention does this mean. I'll also talk about some potential standard upgrades and things that we made decisions on that we need to kind of change a little bit. Since the last time Christo and I talked, like two or 3 weeks is a long time in the lifetime of the standard community. A lot of things evolve really fast. And the beautiful thing about the standards is that once you do it in the daily, like once you get it done and integrated into your daily work, that's a recipe for continuous evolution. So everything feeds everything. Everything feeds everything. Okay, so let me go back to the main. I'm gonna kind of pull latest from here, and then I'm gonna try to. This guy kind of is Angie. Let's see why it's Angie. Let me unload it and reload it and see if it's not Angie anymore. Reload. Yeah, there you go. And this guy as well. I don't know. This started to happen a lot recently, like projects that I pull in, and then they go into this erroneous state, and I don't know why that is. I actually don't know. It's very new to me. It could be, and it could have many reasons, you know. Okay, so here's this guy. I'm gonna create a new branch here real quick. I'm gonna say users Hassan, users Hassan Habib, acceptances, and then the entity name is sources, and then get all is the action. Okay, we have a new branch. And then I don't know if we have an actual acceptance project. Let's see here. Do we? We have one, but it's super empty. Good. Let's go here and create a broker. So brokers, and these brokers will kind of help us. So the idea about the brokers here is that they kind of they're part of the setup, right? You want to kind of set up the project and you want to make sure your project look right. So you build these brokers, and then inside the broker, I'm going to create something called API test collection. So watch this. API, test, collection, CS, like that. And inside that guy, we're just gonna, I'm gonna make this guy public like that. And then I'm gonna say a collection definition, right? And inside that collection definition, I will say name of API test collection. So it's basically pointing to the same class where we're at. I don't know if we have copyrights here. We do Control KE. Clean this up. That's the first part, right? I'm putting this API test collection here, because I'm going to use it later. I'm going to show you how we're going to use it. It's going to be very important for us, right? That's one part. Okay. Now let's set up the other thing, which is, the broker, the API broker that will mimic our API. So get file core broker. Let's go here and say get file core API broker. This guy here. Okay, this guy, and I can tell here that the project has the disable true is test project. No, it doesn't. Then why is this guy doing that? Weird. Did they make it mandatory on us that we have to have nullable implicit usings? No, we're good. We're good. Okay, cool. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to create this web application factory private here. I'm going to pretend like I'm running the API itself, right? So there's web application factory. We're going to have to pull in some libraries here. There you go. There you go. And then I don't know, we structured this project with this program CS, did we? Instead of
Yeah, the new style. So,
uh-huh.
so we can still just target program. Yeah.
I wonder if I can just do program like that. Maybe that'll
Yeah.
work. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. You
Yeah.
know,
I've used it like that.
you think so? Okay.
Mm.
So this is gonna be our web application factory right here, right? And then the other thing I want to add here, let me minimize this a little bit just so people can see people on their phones. Private, oh, private read-only HTTP client. So I'm creating HTTP client, which will make actual calls, and then private read-only iRESTful. This is our own library, right? API factory client. I wonder if it'll just find it if I do control period. Nope, we're not that popular yet. Gonna have to go pull it, and we'll get at some point. I thought this library like reached 100,000 downloads or something crazy like that. I don't know how much it reached. Let's see. There it is. Look, Hassan and Christo, 300.
It's a lot. Yeah.
305,000 downloads. So over a quarter million and still not found nicely. I'm hurt. I'm a little hurt about that. Let's add that guy in.
Mm.
What's the competitor libraries in the market right now? Is it Easy Rest or something like that? I know there's a bunch, right? High learning, C sharp, easier. Walaikum salam. Okay. Okay, man. Let's go back to our acceptance test here and see if we can get that client. Yeah, now it's recognizable. Now it's approved, right? And this, I'll just call this our API factory client. I will create a CTOR, and then we're gonna just then start initializing these things. So this is web factory equals new, web application factory of program, that's one. And then the client is the client, and then this is the API factory client, right? New RESTful API factory client that takes in the HTTP client as input in here. I don't like when things kind of go over the container as much as possible, please. Like that, a plea from the community. I think this one is fine, but a plea from the community, like if the line is going way over the original constructor here or the method or whatever, try to kind of shorten it a little bit. Pull it down a little bit. Do we need a client name in here? No, it's the same name as the variable, so
Mm.
it's not needed. Okay, perfect.
That line 16, line 23. Are we not creating that from the web factory? The HTTP client. Is it not this web to factory dot create client?
Oh yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. I was wondering why did we even use the web client? You're right. You're right. Good call. Thank you, Chris. Yep, I got too carried away. Okay. So we have that, right?
To use
And
the
we can
AI suggesting.
yep, yep. What AI was actually suggesting that?
No, no. We
Okay.
just tapped.
I went with what AI,
Yeah.
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 That's the problem. That's the problem with AI. It's gonna lead you astray. Right? Okay, so this is the brokers area, right? I don't think there's anything else here we need to do, Christo, right? We got all the pieces, right?
Yeah. We've got test collection. We've got API broker, so that's good.
Awesome. So I think in the brokers also we might need to start adding, like I'll just start with one, but we're gonna have to add all the others, right? Like for instance, I want to add the broker, like this is your get file API broker, right? And that get file API broker, I'm gonna say .home.cs because it's targeting the home repo, and this guy will be partial. So here public partial like that. And then I'm gonna do control KE. So that's your API broker. And then I'm gonna just define. We do have a home controller. So I'm just gonna go and say private const string home URL since it's a constant. And then I'm gonna basically say API/home. right? And then there's only one method that we can call here, which is private async value task, right? Get home API, right? Get home API message or get home message, that works too, async. And what this guy is going to do, see, it's going to use all that cool stuff that we've been building. So I'm going to go and say await this dot API factory, client factory. This is this guy should be part of. Oh, I misnamed this. Hold on. So this is the same name as this guy. This is just the initializer for it. And this guy will go here, and I'll just change the name here. And this will be partial. So will this guy, public partial, like that. And then this is your home. And now I get to have access to this client API factory client dot get content as a string async, and then get home URL. And this guy should probably return a string. Yeah, there you go. How does that look? Looks about right.
Yeah.
Right. So this is going to test what? It's going to pretend. No, it's not going to pretend. It's going to actually launch at the controller level. It's going to launch this home controller, and it's going to ensure that this message exists. But we still need the tests, right? So I need to still actually write the test that will do that for me. So I'm going to go here and create another folder. I'm going to call it APIs. And under APIs, I'm going to create home API tests.cs, like that. And then in here, I'm going to actually do the tests. This is me pretending like this is actually going to happen. Like this is my home API tests. Because this guy has only like, that doesn't really have any dependencies, I'm not going to need to do any mocking or anything like that, right? But I still need to create something like a partial class underneath this to kind of go over the scenario. So I'm just going to say logic. So I'm going to go here. Here's a class, home API tests.logic.cs, something like that. And then I need to figure out the nesting standard settings, default. Is it web? Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. And then this is partial. And then I'm going to go and say fact, public async task should get home message async, like that. So given, when, then, right, string, expected message. So what is the expected message? It's the message that I copied from the home controller. It's this guy. I'm going to go down here and say this is my expected message right here, right? And then I want to make the actual call, right? So string actual home message equals, and then await this dot broker. Oh, I need to initialize that broker, don't I?
Yeah.
So private read only. What is it? API test get
Uh,
file.
yeah.
Hmm,
Get file.
right? Get file API broker, right? And then CTOR. And then how do you actually initialize this guy? There's a special way to initialize this guy, right? We have to kind of call in,
As
right,
collection.
the collection, right?
Collection. Yeah.
So this collection, I thought it, no, this guy gets injected, right? So this is get file core API broker,
Yeah.
right? And then since this is the only thing I'm doing here, so it's kind of this dot get file core API broker equals get file core API broker. So this is that setup, right? But where is this guy supposed to be injected from? The collection, right?
Yeah. Above line 10.
Above line 10 here, I'm supposed
Yeah.
to put something in here and say collection, right?
Yeah. And
And
then
then
it's
in there,
name.
basically, you basically go and say collection and then name of, right? Name of, and then get file API, bro. That'll inject it in. Is that how it's done?
It's the API test collection. You inject
Oh, oh, you're right. You're right. API test collection. That's right. Now, why is this guy barking at us? This guy is saying fixture argument does not have a fixture sort. No, well, now it does. This is supposed to go away, right? Control key E. And then let me add in the copyrights here and then go down here and basically say, okay, so this is my broker dot, right, get Let's see, is this guy public that I created? Oh, it's not public. There you go. So this is getFileBroker.get home message API. That's all. That's really all that it is. And then you're verifying that the actual message should be, because it's not a complicated object. It's not a complex model. It's a primitive type. So whatever is in memory is in memory. So you don't have to say be equivalent to. It's just be, right? I'm gonna try to break this a little bit further so it doesn't kind of go over the method name. I think this is okay. What do you think? Do you think this will work? This will actually mimic the call to the API?
Yep.
Well, I think we have one way to find out. Let's do that. So I'm gonna do Control RT. If you do Control R, Control T, it will run. Control RT will debug. So let's see if that works. Well, didn't like that one. Let's see what the problem is. The following constructor parameters did not have matching fix. See, that's what I'm saying. It was warning me about that. It's saying get file core API broker, right? Home API tests. This is your home API. There's one tiny thing that's missing, right? The fixture that makes it know that you are where you are. Was this something that we needed to, you know what it could be? It could be something that we needed to inherit into the original broker, the API test broker. That's right. Watch this. If I go down here and I say inherit like that, right? And then I can take away this guy. I think that'll do it. I could be wrong.
No.
What do you think? Well, maybe not at the, no, maybe not at this level. It's at the collection level, right? So let me go back here. In here, basically. That'll fix it. Watch this. This guy should go away now. Hopefully. I don't know. Let me rebuild and see.
Which,
Yeah, see, it went away. Look.
what did you add?
Oh, I just inherited the, look, I inherited the iCollection fixture. Get
Oh,
file.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were missing, basically,
Mm.
right? Ahmed says hi. Hi, Ahmed. So let's see here if we can, if I run this test again, will it work? It should work, or maybe not. Let's see. We're still missing something. So what does it say now? Cannot find JSON test host. This file is required for functional test to run properly. There should be a copy of the file in your source project bin folder. Ah, something else is going on. See, that's the project CS
It's
thing.
the app settings. It's app settings to JSON marked to copy always in the properties.
Oh, good point. Let me go to properties. It says copy of newer, copy always. Maybe let me do the same thing as well. I didn't know you had to do that at the app set. Is that a new thing? Copy always. There you go. Do we actually have to?
It should
I don't
be
care.
form of newer, but
No, you know what it is? It could be also that when we said program, which program this is? This is the wrong program. This is supposed to be the program that's coming from, that's
uh,
why, right? This is
yeah,
supposed to be the program that's coming from the actual,
API. Yeah.
yeah. So let me add in here. This is how I knew it didn't find the project itself. Here you go. There you go. Much better. See? Now let me just verify it is what it says it is. Yeah, it is. Now this time it's probably gonna work. Probably. We'll see. Yay.
Nice.
Just a couple of couple of indulations. So that's the setup. Why that setup is important, because it'll allow you to hit the broker, the controller to the service to the broker and back, right? And we're gonna see that very shortly, like when we're working with an actual endpoint, you'll see how that's really, really important for us, right? So, okay, so I'll go here and say, let me create, this is acceptance sources. I'll create a new branch out of this. I'll say users, Hassan, Habib, and then I'm gonna say acceptances dash home dot get message, because that's its own thing. It shouldn't be lumped together with the sources, right? So I'll go here and say acceptances, accept, acceptances, get home message. There you go. So I'll push that upstream. We'll create a pull request for it, right? And Christo, maybe you can review it, take a quick look and tell me how
Yeah.
things are. If you can share and show people how you review the code, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, I love the new StreamYard. Use banners to summarize your talking points. What is that? Hello world. Add banner. Where does it show? I don't see anything showing on our side. Show? Oh, look at that. Nice. Nice. Do you see what's going on our screen? The little thing showing and disappearing and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use banners to summarize your talking points. This is an example for a banner. Nice. Oh man, that's fantastic. So it kind of tells people what we're doing. Okay, I'll say initializing acceptance tests in C#.NET. There you go. Show. So in case people don't know what we're doing right now, that kind of gives them the, here's a summary of what's going on.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah.
See, the thing that scares me the most about acceptance tests is that you don't do them every day. They're not like a unit test or a validation or whatever. So it's easy to forget. It's very
Yeah.
easy like, oh, how many knobs do I have to turn? That's my pet peeve with so many things in our industry. Like when you do provisioning or infrastructure or whatever, it's like this, it's like one of these things that you just do it once and you never come back to it again unless there's a problem. Right? That's the one thing. Now, it would be nice if you click inside the build and made sure that the test will actually run. Like, is it discoverable? And is that test is actually going to run into our system? Let's see if that's the case. And while Chris was doing this, I wanted to kind of talk about a couple of other things in the past that we're gonna switch a little bit, because I know that source is gonna take more than the whatever is left of our time. So I'll let you kind of look at through these. I mean, it's super fast right now because there aren't too many dependencies that we're pulling, right? There you go. So it found it, right? The two tests.
Yeah.
Good. Good. So if that home message ever changes, right, it becomes a huge problem, and then eventually, all right, looks like we have a good. You can merge that. Yep, fantastic. Okay, let's switch back a little bit. So I want to go over something that we said before over the stream that we kind of learned, that it may or may not be necessary. We talked about the asynchronization abstraction, right? And we basically went into one of our services here. I think it was sources and under validations, and we did something like this. I want to make this very clear to everyone. So we discovered that they don't really have to all be awaitable, right? In order for them, like abstraction, a synchronization abstraction is exclusive to interfaces and when you really need to, right? So private methods don't apply that rule. You don't really have to do that, when it comes to private methods. For instance, this is here awaitable, but it's unnecessarily awaitable because it's a private method and it doesn't have any specific asynchronous. It's the only one that we really care about is probably
Mm.
something like the one that's calling the broker, which
Is recent.
that is recent, right?
Yeah.
So where is that guy? Is recent. There it is, that guy, right? That guy is the only guy that you probably want to look at and say, well, this can be awaitable, but the rest don't have to be. So what does this mean? I can take away all of this, right? And I take away probably all of these, right? I can isn't valid async, whatever it is, and I can take that out. But the problem is, I wonder if it will let me, let's see, rename. Is there a nicer way to do that? Let's see. I want to do it in a smart way, but I could be wrong. So if I go and say isn't valid and do Alt Shift and do this, I pick up all of them, whatever they are, and then I call it just is invalid. Done. How about that? Magic, right? And then I get to take all that away, right? And then what else is left? Control KD, clean things
Yeah.
up.
Those last two has got async on it as well, just if you wanted to drop them
Oh,
off.
these two? Yeah, you're right. Let's take that out.
And the two above that one.
This one is legit awaitable though, right? This
Yeah,
is,
no, I'm
yeah,
talking
this one,
56, 57.
oh, 56, 57. This one here?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're right. So this guy doesn't need to be this way, and neither does this guy. Oh, what did I do? Hold on. Hold on. So this is rename. There you go. And isn't valid length is this guy. And also on the implementation level, these guys don't need to be actually, they don't need to be value task or anything like that. They can just be dynamic like that. So I'll just go, how do I do this across all? I'm gonna take this whole box like this, and I'm just gonna select all the similar ones, right? And then I'm gonna basically go and basically say private, static, dynamic. Done. Cool. Right. I know I'm gonna miss a couple. I know, but we can catch the rest, right? So this guy can go away. This guy can go away. Right. I'm gonna do control period, rename. Where is invalid URL coming from? Is invalid URL coming from here? And that guy doesn't need to be like that. So I'm gonna go and do this and then say private, static, dynamic, like that. No, that guy is not private static dynamic. This is private static Boolean, right? Validate source, whatever, that doesn't need to be asynchronous, right? Because this
yeah, I can
is
use the date time broker.
exactly. So let me capture all of these. Let's see, is invalid async. So this guy doesn't need to be like that anymore. This guy's good, right? But then there's, if I do control MO, it will kind of collapse everything for me, except for this, I guess. And I can see, stuff like this. This doesn't need to happen this way. That's not a need. And URL is same async. What did is same async do? It just returned the dynamic option. This guy doesn't need to be async. Is same, just is same. And then there is not same. Fantastic.
Yeah, that
And
can
then is not same async. That guy can go away. You go. Validate source async. Nope, doesn't need to be like that. And this guy can be void. What about this guy? This guy is maybe source, validate storage source. Again, this guy doesn't need to look like that. Let's see if this will reflect. It shouldn't reflect anything on the test because they're all private, but I could be mistaken. What about this dude? This is modify async, but it's not really saying is recent to any of them, right? So it doesn't need to be async either. Rename, static void. Okay, what am I missing? Static void validate, and then this guy's doing, there must be something awaitable in here. That guy, come here, right? So that guy is not async anymore, and that guy is not either. So it's a good thing that we're catching. I wanted to kind of correct the perception because why would you if you don't have to, right? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, otherwise it's a lot of work for no reason.
Yeah, it applies great at abstraction, like at the interface level, absolutely 100%. But beyond that point, why would you do that? Okay, so now let's just verify and thanks, to unit tests that we have, we can make any change we like and then verify whether any of our changes have made any issues. I would expect at least one build issue, yeah, because at the service level, there must be someone awaiting something that doesn't need to be awaited. Yeah, this, for instance, doesn't need to be, neither is this one. What else? These two here, they don't need to be awaited. This guy doesn't need to be awaited. I don't know why they made a special one for the source ID, by the way. That's kind of weird to me. Like validate source ID specifically. Maybe it's okay. Maybe. Let's run that. Oh, still have one. Just one. One somewhere. Where is that one? Let's see here. This guy right here. That's it. That's the last one. Okay, let's try this again. Let's give it a build. Right? And then I can run this. We broke something. So let's see here. We broke just one thing specifically. And hopefully it's not a flaky test. It's a real thing. So what is that? This says um, expected inner except. By the way, I started seeing those recently, Christo. Expected inner exception runtime binder. I think we did something in an upgrade, by the way. I might not be aware of, but I saw this morning when I was working on another project as well. It says, oh, this level 2 thing didn't happen. Source service exception. Let's see why this is happening. Try catch. It went all the way down to the service. So something's still not right. Validate source async. It's probably here somewhere. You know what this could be? It could be one of those, like, it's not asynchronous, but it still has value task. And that's causing problems. Uh, it's not recent. Let's see. This is wrong, by the way. This is very strange because you don't know the type here. You're deconstructing.
Mm.
We should have separated those somehow. Like that condition would be in its own rule, but it's fine. I'm just trying to find where does it think it's asynchronous, but it's not. That's probably the only reason why this issue is happening. Like somewhere here it says value task, but it actually isn't. Let's see. This is, so let's see, should throw validation exception on add if audit properties, yada, yada. And it says, I expected to get source validation exception, but what I really got is source service exception. Okay, where did it originate from? It originated from this guy on this level specifically. Await validate source on add. This guy right here, right? And then in here, something blew up, something it didn't like that blew up. Is not the same doesn't need to be awaitable. There you go.
Yeah, and the one
Is not
above,
recent does. Let's see. Is that the bug?
28. 28.
28?
There's also a wait there.
Oh, there you go. I don't understand why it accepted it though as an awaitable. Is it because it's a dynamic, so it doesn't know whether it's an awaitable or not? That could be the reason. Let me run it one more time. I think that's probably it. That's the bug right there. Come on. There you go. So now if I run everything, that should probably fix everything. Felipe says, I think you missed is not same async rename. Let's find out. Is not same. Where is it, Felipe? Let's see. Is not same. No, they're good. They look good. Is not same. No, they. Oh, wait. No, you are right. What is that? So it's not same async. This guy doesn't need to be awaited. Where is this at specifically? Thank you, Felipe. That's a good point. Oh, that's at the configuration service. Oh, yeah, that's a code drop for someone else. It's not on me. This is just me showing people. Let's not do it this way. Okay, so I'm gonna go here and do users Hassan Habib, and then medium code drop, and then remove async. Here's another pull request for you, Christo, to kind of look at
Mhm.
medium code drop, remove async when not needed. Okay, I'm gonna create and push, and then I'm gonna create a pull request. I love how the pull request now in Visual Studio just works. It used to hang. It wasn't working like that before.
Yeah, it's nice now.
All right, it's all you. Take a look at that one PR. It's a lot of changes, so it'll be a little. We only had like 30 more or 25 more minutes, so I thought maybe I should just announce that earlier. All right, the screen
Oh,
is
yeah.
yours now.
Um,
Oh my God, look at all the stuff. I've been fighting.
yeah.
I must have missed something.
Um, so it's fine.
I don't know if Gregory already added that to the standard documentation. I think it's been a while back, so maybe he did. We'll see. Let me put a banner on that. I love this banner idea. It's cool.
Mm, it's good.
Look good. Okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
All right.
Yeah, a lot has changed this past month in terms of the standards. So we've added new categorization. We've
I, I I haven't even talked to people about the categorization on the commits on the pull
yeah,
request. That's right.
we've added what's it imports and statuses, and we've done the async. Uh,
Import status, and then everything is minor, major, minor, medium, major, and I even updated, like, how do you evaluate yourself if you want to know where you stand as a software engineer? This is the commit level. Like, I did the standard team, right, where I basically told. By the way, this area needs a little bit of improvement because we need to explain to people what is the difference between a minor and a major.
hmm,
Like, how do you know the difference? Because people ask me this question all the time. Like, they say, Hassan, okay, how do I tell if this code rub is medium? But I also this is kind of how I kind of tell people, if you want to know where you stand, like, what does it take score wise to get to a certain level, right? You have a one and a two and a senior and a principal and a partner and a VP and distinguished. And then there's something called a standard bearer. Like you're basically you are at a level where you either get a million points or you get delegated from the previous standard bearer. Someone says take this and move forward with it, whether you get these points or not. But everything in these points here like is updated here. Like I just did a code drop. There should be a medium major code right there. Medium code drop, minor code drop, documentation, major code drop, and there's just code drop, right? These are the difference between one and the other, but we need details. I need to add details here about how do you know the difference, right? To be very specific. This is the whole point of get file. The whole point is to basically go and say, you know what, this is a a system that will help evaluate everyone by the same standards, right? Regardless of how loud they are in a meeting room or, how outspoken they are. What I discovered, Christo, in the tech industry in general is that usually the most outspoken ones are the least ones to deliver some high quality software, and the least outspoken ones are the ones usually that are delivering really high quality value, but they just don't want to talk about it. They're not people, right? They just want to write software and go home, just get a sandwich and go home. They don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
So this is of course just a generic observation. There are always exceptions to the rules, but we'll see. Maybe next week we can start talking about the other standard upgrades that you and I are still taking back and forth.
Yeah.
There are some amazing things that are coming down the pipe, and I'm excited for this community. To just see how we're evolving the system, and everyone's feedback is usually open as usual, always open. Just talk to us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Crystal, for hanging out with me today and reviewing some of these PRs. And let's keep going. This is
Yeah.
fun.
Thanks, Hassan.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.